Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn. I'm Lauren Smith with the International Franchise Association, and we have a great 30 minutes lined up for you. Before we begin, I would just like to remind everyone that we are recording today's webinar and will make it available later this evening on community.franchise.org. If you have any questions for today's speaker, please add them to the chat box and they will be addressed toward the end. Today's topic is connecting payments to royalty calculation software, and it is brought to us by Flywire. Here to provide today's discussion is Greg Leven, SVP of International Business at Flywire. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to Flywire for sponsoring today's Lunch and Learn. I'll go ahead and turn things over to you.
Cool. Hey, thanks, Lauren, and thanks to IFA for having us. Proud member of the organization and association, rather, and look forward to doing many great things together, including this little 25-minute lunch and learn. So it's just me today. So hopefully we get some interaction. Hopefully don't make it too boring. But like Lauren mentioned, I'm Greg Leven at Flywire. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I think one of the fun things to do to any of these virtual webinars is to get the chat going a little bit. So if you could say, hey, from X city, X state, that would be great. So I'll lead things off. Hello from Kansas City. It's always fun to see where everyone's from. So if you could get the chat, there we go. South Dakota, awesome. Clearwater, Monroe, Charlotte. Wow, Lauren, a lot of North Carolina, where you're at. Oh, there you are. Okay. Cool. Kind of all over the place. So anyway, today, keep that thing going. I like seeing that chat, and please be interactive. And I know this crowd is not shy. At least that's what Lauren told me. So just a quick chat on payments and just royalty calculation software. And hopefully you take away something from today that maybe you had heard before, but maybe we phrase it a little bit differently today, or maybe you have an idea to go apply your business to fuel growth. So title is Connecting Payments to Royalty Calculation Software. So a little bit of setup. Payments is a subjective term. If you go down the street in New York or wherever in Melville, New York, there you go, Harold, and you ask 10 people kind of where what a payment is, you'll probably get 9 different definitions of a payment. And so anytime payments is brought up, it kind of, you go to endless links for clarity around what are you talking about? Is it a payable? Is it a receivable? Is it domestic? Is it cross-border? And so is it card? Is it bank transfer? ACH is not a global term, but it is. Wires are not a global term either, but they are. So just really talking about payments today and how it pertains to fueling the growth of brands all over the world. But then, the payment event is the money movement side. The royalty calculation software, or your system of record, is the data side. And what we find at Flywire is that software drives value in payments. And so if you can connect that payment event up with the data, which is the software side, a lot of friction can be resolved in the business, and it can actually add to growth, especially if you're growing globally. That's kind of the setup for today. I don't think I have any questions yet, although we have a supporter of Mountain View, California. So really quick, I won't get into a crazy amount of what Flywire is or what a Flywire is, but Flywire is a company listed on NASDAQ, been public for about 3 years now. We have a growing client base of 3,700 clients all over the world. We've got 14 offices globally to support in market language, because we're talking about cross-border payments. We have about 1,200 employees, or Flymates as we call them. And, most importantly, we've been working hard for 10 plus years on building out our payments network. Exclusive payment network to Flywire that we give customers access to. So really, solving for some of the most important and complex payments globally for various organizations. And we're deep into the franchise space. So with that said, love the still getting a bunch of folks participating in the city. So Okay, so payment challenges specific to your space that we've seen, that we're keen on, that we're help solving. But a lot of brands get to a certain point in their journey and say, hey, what about opening a new market? And a lot of times, all of the attention up front, rightly so and wrongly so, is, hey, what are the local regulations around franchise in X country? How do we get registered? Do we open up an office? Can we hire people at the rate that we've hired in our former jurisdiction? And a lot of times folks forget about the last mile of that entire growth pattern or transaction, which is the payment. And so, if it's one thing if you're talking USD to USD, but it's another thing if you're talking about, Southeast Asia payments back to the US, royalty payments, IFF, those types of things. So if you really don't have a great view on payment or payment infrastructure, you can kind of accidentally become a payments company because you have to build out so many different payment connectors and get with so many providers and market. So really that's something that this industry it has huge challenges on, and not to mention just the lack of payment methods for franchisees. So we've gone through, brand has gone through expansion, all the effort, all the sign-offs that are required to operate in a country. And then dang it, the franchisee can't pay the brand back for royalty payments or different expenses easily. So a pretty big topic, especially for brands that are growing globally. Payment delays, salespeople can't get paid commissions. The brand doesn't get royalty to fuel further growth, and so no one likes payment delays. And then manual reconciliation of royalties. This is something that we know brands struggle with a lot. Just connecting that payment event back to the data side, kind of like I led off the conversation. So kind of, our perspective are that royalty payments are lifeblood of a brand. In fact, we know from a bunch of surveys that, the majority are collecting monthly, but there are few that are collecting weekly and even daily, that are on automated fashion. And so that's a nice statistic, but the one that we like to talk about on this slide is that more than half of the folks are actually unhappy with how they're collecting royalty payments, or they wish they had a better way. And again, I think the industry as a whole, especially from country to country perspective, if all you have is a hammer, everything becomes a nail. And so while you're trying to grow your business to attract more customers, to get more of a demographic footprint in your store, in your brand, in your location, sometimes you forget about all the inefficiencies that goes into calculating, but also collecting royalty payments. So, cross-border, I did see, I took a sneak peek at the attendee list before the webinar. It doesn't look like everyone is cross-border or has intentions to go cross-border here today, but just solving for payments, royalty payments in one geography or one country is painful. As you go across the world, every country has a different payment network and a different system. How you can show fees, what you can charge. And so, if you can really focus on simplifying those collections, you can really fuel growth. In fact, 88% of folks view that as the collections process that impact negatively their ability to grow. And then over to the right-hand side here, talking about increased profitability when sometimes many brands have slim margins. In fact, a lot do. And so, just if your collections process, if payment processing is impacting the cost of the business and driving down profitability, it can really be a big hindrance on growth internationally. And honestly, work with some brands that have actually clawed back their international growth because of this whole collections process. Next slide. I don't think I have any questions quite yet. Let me take a pause. I'm looking at the Slack here, or the meeting chat. You guys can tell what Flywire uses now. We use Slack. Okay. So here's if you're not familiar with payments and how money moves from point A to point B, a lot of times it's not that simple. And so when you are collecting that IFF or royalty, this is kind of what goes on behind the scenes that gets money from point A to point B. So, your franchisee either has an automation set up where it's automatically deducted or receives some sort of an invoice or statement. Then they go to their bank and the franchisee will try to make a payment at their bank. And typically in a foreign exchange transaction, they're going to deal with some sort of FX conversion that is typically pretty expensive for low value payments, not to mention high wire fees or high international payment fees. Then in between the franchisee bank and the brand's bank, your bank, there's actually correspondents and intermediaries that also deduct fees and have different charges. And it also takes a bit to clear as you go cross border. And then ultimately the brand receives the funds, but you've got the funds in the bank account, but you also have your system of record or royalty calculation software that you're trying to reconcile. Hey, we've got the money. That's awesome. Who is it from? What month are they paying for? Are they paying for equipment and the royalties? Is it included in one payment? Kind of how do we go about, deciphering what the payment was for? And unless you're truly connected from a payment event perspective to the back end system of record, you can't really solve that in a systematic way. And so all of this kind of results in a poor experience both for the brand and the franchisee. So from a Flywire, just really quick plug on Flywire, we are connected to the front end system of record, but also after we deliver the payment, we're connected on the back end. So Flywire, you can partner with Flywire to expand your network globally and collect royalty payments, really no matter where in the world your franchisee is. So when the franchisee gets the invoice or statement or is automatically deducted, the franchisee actually has payment choice of payment method and currency that doesn't impact the ultimate royalty amount that the brand receives. And so Flywire kind of sits in the middle and creates this, 1 + 1 = 3 situation where flexibility, yes, okay, flexibility in, how the franchisee pays. It's very similar, but it doesn't impact the brand. The brand doesn't have to go through a bunch of change in the back end to accept that exact amount of currency. Had a question. Our company uses a homegrown system. How does Flywire work with custom software? So very familiar with homegrown systems in this space for sure. If you have one of these 9, in fact, maybe 12, great. But if not, standard scoping session, we draft a statement of work and just identify the level of lift for the gain and the value. I will say a lot of companies don't have IT people just kind of hanging around waiting for projects. In fact, I've never seen that one before where, hey, Greg, this is awesome. Yeah, I have 3 people that are waiting for their next project. We'll just slide them right in, right? It's always this fight for resource allocation and what project do we do next. So actually, Flywire does have kind of a crawl, walk, run, fly approach, if you go with me on that one, where you don't have to start collecting royalty payments through Flywire and it's integrated. Yes, we want to get it integrated to the back end to have all the reconciliation benefit, but that doesn't have to be the case. In fact, we do work with many brands that have tricky market situations that say, hey, we've got an aging balance of royalties in X country. And gosh, the franchisee is really struggling to buy dollars locally and get us those dollars and royalties. And so we'll step in and see what we can do from a local payment perspective. Does Flywire, Barry, I'm going to take your question. Does Flywire still require invoices to be generated? Is there a way to automatically skim the royalties? Yes. Okay. No, you do not have to have an invoice. In fact, we do partner with a great company called Fran Connect. I think a couple of folks are on the call from Frank Connect today that we're actually integrated into their royalty calculation software, so it's all very seamless. So you have the sales and development, you've got the royalty manager, and then you've got the payment happening in one place. And so again, country specific, corridor specific, but we can automate it without having an invoice and make the whole thing very, very seamless. Barry, did that get to your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Very good. All right. I know we only have 25 minutes today, so I'll try to keep going. So really, if you do focus on payments at the forefront, you can grow very seamlessly and internationally without having to go through the rigor and huge task of figuring out which payment providers you partner just to collect payment locally. And so, net, you've got franchise that are getting paid faster, decreasing DSO. You've got full improved visibility, both to when the royalty goes out or the payment goes out, all the way through settlement. And it's in a system of your choice. We're very, I will say, like the whole embedded payment theme or embedded finance, I'm sure folks have heard on this call, but embedded payments is something the last 3 years has really gotten traction. Flywire, we didn't know we were doing that term, but we've always been embedded payments. That is our go-to-market strategy, is just have payments operate seamlessly behind the scenes. With that said, we do have a fair amount of clients that do want extended AR reporting, different dashboards to look at. And so we do have software that we offer with our payment technology. But that's the ultimate situation for a global brand, is to marry that system of record, that software, up with the payment event. And so pretty agnostic when it comes to which software we pick. And then, there's local options and reduced costs. So, for those of you that haven't gone global quite yet, there's a bunch of different payment methods that you might not be familiar with. Like in Brazil, there's Pix and Boleto, and in China, there's Union Pay and Alipay, and a bunch of different payment systems that you aren't familiar with. And so what that creates is tension between your franchisee and the brand, because the brand is, if they're in the US, which the majority of you are, you're just saying, hey, just send me dollars. Franchisee, I don't care how you get them, just send me the dollars on time. And they're saying, well, gosh, we can't do that, or it's really expensive to do that. And so there's just this natural friction around that payment. And with Flywire, if you have those local payment options, your brands or your franchisees are just going to pick the one that's common to them, that's the easiest, and thus you're going to get paid faster and reduce cost along the way. Okay, 6 more minutes. Okay, this is brought to you in partnership with our great partnership with Frank Connect. Barry, this is an invoice. It doesn't have to be an invoice, but this is, on the back end of Frank Connect, we've calculated the royalty. There's also additional advertising fees and some sort of additional, maybe this is a technology fee. And so, the franchisee would receive this invoice seamlessly. You've got the invoice history, and simply with Flywire, you click make payment. Now this is a USD to USD example. You click make payment, and as you can see, your franchisee has many options. We've got alternative payment methods like PayPal. We've got direct debit where we can set up, and we've got online banking, wire transfer. And so, as I don't have this for today because it gets pretty in the weeds, but if this was a company in the UK, a franchisee in the UK, this would still say the same thing. The brand is going to receive the 15,000 US, but over here, this is what changes. It'll go to pounds, and it will have different payment methods that are local to the UK market. And if you have a franchisee in Brazil, this will stay the same on the left. You're always going to receive the 15,000. And over here, it will actually change to Brazilian AIs with different payment methods associated with it. So really the value of Flywire is rather than trying to string together all of these different payment methods, you just get it out of the box. That's what we've been building for 10 years. And so there's a lot to this screen. I know we've got 4 minutes left here, so I'm going to go ahead and fast track to the other screen. And then transaction transparency. So, kind of pertaining to how I led off the discussion today, or the monologue rather, a little bit of discussion. But businesses, whether you're a franchise or a manufacturing company or a distribution company, it doesn't matter. If you're a global business, you're trying to answer 3 questions at all times, which is, when will I be paid? Where is the payment? And then what have I been paid for? So it's, when will I be paid? We know what the invoice says, but we also know that that doesn't always happen in the B2B world. Where is the payment? I'm sure many of you have worked with banks and banking partners to launch an investigation on where the payment is. They charge you $45 and it's just an absolute mess. And then thirdly, and probably the most important one, is what is the payment for? And so if we combined payments with software, this is what you get. You get complete transparency into the status of each payment, what the payments were for, what invoices can I do entries in my system of record for, how it was made, what amounts are applied. So, this is an example, again, in Royalty Manager. Okay, 3 minutes. This is a great client of Flywire's, which is Dickey's Barbecue. We're really partnered on this side with a great gentleman named Jim Perkins. He's responsible for selling Dickey's globally. And so just, facing franchisees in Mexico and Canada and quite frankly all over the world on, hey, here's a Dickey's, let's expand. And collecting that payment he's used it as a competitive advantage because he has Flywire. And so, we're early on, just collecting those payments were challenging. It was slow, manual. All the reconciliation side was not getting done, in this case, in NetSuite. And so we integrated Flywire into NetSuite for a seamless transaction flow. We got Dickey's out of the PCI compliance scope, which is also a big burden if you're accepting card payments as an organization. And then so, Jim feels very confident in his ability to expand globally, as payments is not something that he has to solve for, because he's been a great partner. So, okay, 24. Thank y'all. Let's see if you go, okay. Perfect. If you guys have a couple other questions, great, we can field them, or you can eat the rest of your lunch. Hopefully some of you are eating lunch. Here's my email contact. We've got at flywire.com, we've got an entire page dedicated to franchise space. And so we've got demos and all kinds of things that we can send you. So please, did you answer the skim question above? I think so. Barry said I did. But now, Adam, you're saying maybe I didn't. So Barry, did I answer the skim? Like, you're just saying skim the royalties, like direct debit. Correct?
Yeah, so how it generally works is that, if a customer comes in and buys something for $100, if it's a 10% royalty, the $10 automatically just gets sent. So there's no need to raise an invoice based on a royalty calculation. So is that still something that's possible, or is that something that's do you require that kind of invoice to be generated at the front end?
Directionally, no. We can accommodate that use case. Would love to dig in a little bit. I'd love to start asking you what brand do you represent and what's the exact use case. But directionally, like split payments, payments as a request rather than an invoice, yes, we do support.
Yeah, it's probably a bit too in the weeds for a 30-minute session, but happy to have a chat with you offline.
Okay, very good. I'll write that down, Barry. I'll look you up on LinkedIn.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Of course, thank you. Okay, Ginger says, curious to know if you have clients that operate as membership brand where they would be cross-center redemptions between locations and how that would work. Okay, Ginger, can I ask you a question back before answering? Are you talking about like settling payments to different subsidiaries across different customers?
Yeah, so basically the way our brand works, we are a membership model. And we have the opportunity for us to do a pass-through, corporate acts as a pass-through for cross-center redemptions. So if a member is at one location and goes and gets a service at another location, then we have to send money from the home location to the servicing location. And royalties are calculated when that transfer occurs, and credit of royalties is given to the home retreat because they originally paid those royalties when they collected the membership fee.
And then how does the membership retreat get the ultimate? How do they know what to pay and when? Is
It's
it
calculated through our bi-weekly royalty process. And when we reconcile the royalties to include the royalty calculations on specific groupings of categories within the POS system, and then it's offset with the redemptions between. And in some instances, you may have a retreat where they received in more cross-center redemptions, and so their invoice would be a credit. And that's what we would actually transact through an ACH collection. It's all very manual. So this is something I would love to get some more information and partner with you on. I come from a brand at Massage Envy. I don't mind saying that. I was the corporate controller there and actually built a proprietary royalty system that handled all of this back-end type of transaction settlements between retreats.
heck? Yes. Okay. Awesome. Ginger, thank you for sharing. And yes, those are the problems that Flywire runs at to help solve. That sounds pretty dang complex. And the net of it is Flywire has a pretty flexible, very flexible technology that we just need to be plugged in at the moment where the payment needs to occur, whether it's automated or someone has to click a button to make the payment. But yeah, Ginger, I'll do the same. I will follow up with you for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Cool. And if anyone needs a massage, they should go to Massage Envy, right, Ginger?
Well, I'm with Massage Heights now. So
Oh,
don't
Massage Heights.
Envy.
All right, Massage Heights. You have a discount code, right, Ginger? This is all set up.
Let's see what we can work on.
All right.
Just for clarification, in my former life, I've been in franchising for about 17 years, but I'm now with Massage Heights.
Okay, so I didn't mishear that. You did say Massage first, right?
I'm sorry?
You did say Massage Envy first, right?
I did. That was
Okay.
where we developed this proprietary program to support the existing POS system, and no other entity has been able to duplicate that type of system because it is complex, to your point, when you're transferring between locations.
Got it. Okay. So Massage Heights is Barry's the other one that asked the question. So I think Barry should get a nice little coupon to Massage Heights.
Sounds great. I'm all for it.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Thanks for repeating. Had an interruption. Awesome. Yeah. So, hey, thanks for the chat. Thanks for the question. Hopefully, we do have another webinar coming up in September where we're going to have a panel. So it won't just be Greg trying to make jokes and say something relevant for 25 minutes. So hopefully you guys get a chance to see that. And Ginger and Barry, I will reach out to you directly.
Sounds great. Thank you so
That's
much.
great. Thanks.
See ya. Thank you, Lauren. Are you wrapping us up? Or are we good?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Greg. This was excellent content and excellent feedback from all of you. We really do appreciate it. Again, this webinar was recorded and along with the presentation deck will appear on our website early this evening. You'll be able to find that at community.franchise.org. Thank you very much again to Greg and the Flywire team. And again, thank you to everyone for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day and stay safe and healthy. Bye.
See you.